Dwarven Moss presents a Dungeons & Dragons actual play of The Curse of Strahd.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all, wherever you all might be listening to, whatever time of day it is. Welcome to another episode of Talkin' Moss.
And if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Oh.
Truman Show.
Truman Show.
The Truman Show. You know, I've only
That's
seen
two
that
Jim
movie
Carrey references now.
once.
You've only seen it once?
Once in my life.
That warrants
That's-
many watches, Chris. Dude, that movie is so good.
I have seen Me, Myself, and Irene about 15 to 16 times.
That's all that you're way off on that. You see Me, Myself, and Irene once or twice.
No,
you see
no.
Truman Show at least 4 or 5 times.
There is so much good stuff in
Oh
Me,
my
Myself,
God.
and Irene.
New topic.
Jim Forks. Yeah. Comedy,
topic.
drama. Okay, new topic. Back to the Moss.
Last Talking Moss, I opened up with a recommendation of a great tabletop / RPG / feel good fantasy music track that meant a lot to me nostalgically and presently. Elwyn Forest from WoW. I want to know what's the track? What somebody recommend? Chris, I know you have a lot of tracks that you go to for the tabletop.
Oh, geez. Okay. Well, my go-to, is it's got to be. It's now turning into the Witcher soundtrack, specifically from The Witcher 3. There's the fight one. There's one that's the theme of Skellige, which is very beautiful. It has this sort of like pipey flute. And then there's, Skyrim. Skyrim is kind of the go-to, I think. Jay, you
That's
and
the
I.
go-to, yeah. We're
We go to that.
religiously
We got our
that.
Imperial Throne. We've got our
Yeah.
Secunda. We've got our
yeah.
Aurora. We got our Tundra.
You haven't actually delved into the Oblivion soundtrack as much as I have, though, because the playlists sort of bridge over to each other quite a bit. There's a lot of great Oblivion ones too.
It's true. And you know what I love about D&D? There's so many different settings that you can kind of pick about. You know, I will say, to tie this into Strahd, I was listening to the Bram Stoker's Dracula soundtrack so much. And then I watched that movie over and over again. Man, that movie's great.
Man,
Oh, yeah.
I like watching
good call on
Bam
that.
Margera's Dracula.
What?
Did he do one?
Bram Stoker and Bam Margera's. After he got kicked out of Jackass, he was like, you know what?
It's a cult classic.
Have you guys seen the new Jackass?
I have not.
I just watched it.
And?
It's the same. It's just a bunch of. There's so much dick stuff. It's
Old
crazy how much
guys
dick
now.
stuff it is. It's all of them are just taking their dicks out and doing like lewd things. Anyway,
What about Tom? Tom, what do you go to? What is your fantasy
Yeah.
track? What comes to mind
you
when
put
you
on
think?
any little fantasy things that just get
yeah.
your little fantasy ears
Yeah.
going?
Yeah.
There is a great instrumental Peter Gabriel album. And that's what I like to listen to.
Which album is this? This sounds
What?
great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out the name of it.
Is it the
I won't be able to get it right away.
Passion of the Christ?
Yeah, actually, I think that is it.
Oh, no, no.
That was the Last Temptation of Christ, the Passion of the Christ.
Oh, the Last Temptation.
Right.
Yeah.
Not the
was
Mel
done
Gibson
by
movie.
old
Yeah,
man
no.
Melbourne Gibson,
Yeah.
Melissa
Yeah,
Gibson.
so I'll do P. Gabes for some of that stuff. I mean, that's definitely in the vibe. I feel like he gets into that era. Sometimes he brings in like the bagpipes and stuff like that. I'm into it. It feels
I like
feels
that, Tom.
fantasy-ish.
It's
That's
nice
very
to,
interesting because Jay and I go to video games, and you go to like a guy who's making world music.
World music.
that.
I mean, that's
his label.
That works. Yeah.
What's world? They call it world because it's like, you know, you're going around the world. You're not in your boring little Western Hemisphere sort of well,
little bubble, just
all
listening
of it,
to
all of it
Weezer.
accounts for escapism. You know, you put on the right music, it gets you there, and you could do whatever you want with it. Like it's not like fashion music. It's not like listening to pop music. It's not music with lyrics. Even like Radiohead or something like those sort of like deep music will take you somewhere musically. But there's something about the stuff that goes along with tabletop music, like the instrumentals, the sort of
Really is, yeah.
contemplative video
Yeah.
game soundtracks.
Sure.
It's what it is. It's an accompaniment to your thoughts. It's not actually telling you what to think. It's not
No,
actually
it's-
bringing you focus somewhere. It's kind
yeah.
of just lifting your brain somewhere for it to
Just
go
setting
wherever
the
you want it
mood,
to go.
Yeah.
Well, because you don't want to be bound by lyrics. You know, the lyrics kind of come out depending on what you're doing.
And you know what I find is that video game music is way more kind of attuned to tabletop role-playing games, because video game music, you have hours and hours of it, right? And it really sits in its own kind of tone and world. So, you know, actually another one that I was very inspired by, this game called Ori and the Blind Forest. I don't know if you guys
yeah.
ever played that.
I haven't played it, but I know it's a very beautiful experience.
The
from what I've
beautiful
heard.
experience. The music is gorgeous. The art is gorgeous. But I just found the music was fantastic to play along
Yeah.
with our
Nice.
adventures. I've been using it a couple times in our last one.
I think for video game music, see, you can't go wrong with Koji Kondo. Koji
Kondo.
Kondo? Yeah,
Yeah.
Koji Kondo.
He's the old school guy. We're
Exactly.
talking
I am old school.
Zelda.
I'm coming from
for
AD&D.
anyone who doesn't know, Koji Kondo composed The Legend of Zelda. Mm-hmm. And I
And
think Mario.
Yes. Yeah, that was his first
So
one.
it's like, can you imagine? Like this is a heavy hitter of the highest order.
Jay, who did, or do you guys know who did the music like the Ocarina of Time or like the...
I think it might have been Koji Kondo.
yeah, okay. It sounds like it. Man, that guy's the best.
I'm sure there's a team at a certain point. It's really demystifying to know that these composers at a certain level get a team. Well, there are those that John Williams, but even John Williams has orchestrators that do quite a bit of heavy lifting.
Danny
I know that
Elfman's the same way, yeah.
Yeah, Danny
Ooh,
Elfman does a
Danny
lot of his
Elfman,
own
amazing.
stuff. But Hans Zimmer is a guy who has an entire institution in LA that is just like hundreds of composers all working to funnel into one project at a time, or maybe many.
Wow.
So
what about
cool.
John Bryan? Does he have as big of a team?
Well, John Bryan is a very indie sound.
Ooh, who's John Bryan?
I'm sure if John Bryan were to score Dune, he might get some help, but when he does
I Heart Huckabees or
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all him.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yes.
Another great Jim Carrey movie. It's not as good as Me, Myself, and Irene, but
No,
It's-
nothing will
it's
be
up
ever
there.
that good.
Guys,
I just found
Strahd-
out that Koji Kondo wrote
What?
Ocarina of Time. Yeah. So yeah,
he did, eh?
Yeah,
Okay.
he did.
he really
he's
did do
the best.
Ocarina.
He
Wow.
really did. He really did. I'm sorry, Jay. You were saying Strahd. You
Strahd.
mentioned
Well,
Strahd's name.
Who's that?
I just got struck by this realization that we are at a certain point in Strahd, and although we can't really even hint so much as to what's to come too far down the line, I think I could safely say that our next episode is really exciting.
Okay, well, just say that. I don't want to give anything else away other than
you can
that.
say that.
Nothing else.
It's
but
a big
just-
one.
If
But-
if there's gonna be one time where you clear your schedule and make sure
Rent
the
out.
lights are
Yeah,
dim.
yeah.
you
Rent
eat
out
just
like a
the-
sound system. Get
Yeah,
the
rent a
biggest
sound
you
system,
can rent. Yeah.
or good headphones. Eat a nice
Or
big
rent
piece of the
a
gummy.
local
Yeah.
theater.
Rent a local theater. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just
Next
listen.
episode is going to be the one.
This is very funny because I asked my son before he said, "What should we talk about? What should we talk about?" And he was like, "Well, what about the villain? Have you guys ever talked about the villain?" And I'm like, "No. You know what? We never actually have. We've never really talked about this legendary villain that's been around for years and years since Ravenloft was created."
Yeah, 1984, I think.
Strahd is one of those villains. You know exactly what you're doing when you start that adventure. You're trying to kill a vampire. He's on the book. He is the villain. He's the Darth Vader.
But of course, he is shrouded in mystery. And at this point in the story, Bourne and Wendell only know so much about this guy.
And I think that's what's fun about this game. You're learning about this bad guy as you're on the way to presumably get rid of him.
Right.
So
Yeah.
these-
And you're learning more about this land.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
how he exists in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm certainly thinking that, I don't want to start to actually put myself into game space here, but, at this point in the game, it feels almost a bit short-sighted to think or to assume that we should just be out to kill Strahd, as if that is the be-all, end-all of what this whole thing is about.
Right.
At this point, just me as a player, I want to know some answers.
There's actually a good question by Tyler that kind of ties into that.
Oh.
By Tyler. Who the hell is Tyler?
Oh, he's a guy, man. Tyler Schlobohm. He's
a Mosser.
He's a Mosser. He asked some great questions. He's been in a few Mosses, or a couple.
Okay.
Let's see
does
what
Tyler
he gets
say?
here. Okay, so
He says,
do-do-do-do-do.
is Boren ready to kill Wendell if he loses control of his dark power and begins killing the innocent? I know he has threatened to do so. Oh, I just lost it. I know he has threatened to take action if something happens.
You know
before,
what?
but
I
is he
gotta
really
put a
prepared?
stop to this, because honestly, seriously, I don't want to know the answer to that. You can't tell me the answer to that question.
I don't think there is an answer to that question. I don't think
It hasn't happened yet. I hope people know that, well, I guess there's no way to really fake this, but what makes this game so incredibly fun and also challenging is that we truly are living it in the moment. Every single decision and action is happening in real time.
Mm-hmm. Actually, there was a question for you, Chris. I don't think we have this one copied, but it was by it was Eminem, Mike Messina, I think is his name.
Oh, okay. Not
He
the real
wanted to
Eminem.
know, just to bring up the fact that it is in the moment. He said, "Chris, you having run Strahd, did that affect the way you played this game?"
No, I ran it after we played.
Yes, let's be clear on that. This is we're all in a new territory in this.
That's right.
And in the moment and exploring things as they come along.
That's right, yeah. So I didn't... What was great, though, is that I had a hell of a time DMing it because I knew the world and I knew people and I knew the NPCs and the different places and their intentions and their fears and everything. So it was so fun to go back in that world, go back in that sandbox, and now be the kid with the shovel and the digger and the pail.
Looking at this from Mad Wookie 98, who made a comment here. He said, "Quality moss as always, gentlemen, and a question for you. Do you intend on honoring the agreement made with the Vistani, or do you intend to find out what their plans are and then putting a stop to them? I look forward to next episode." Once again, these are tough to answer, right? Because it's how are we to know now before we play it out?
Yeah, I know, and we don't want to tell you. I mean, we want you to listen.
It also makes it really fun, that when you do play the game, you could get you're emotionally sort of riding the roller coaster of what's happening, and you could be impulsive if you feel impulsive, or you could negate that. But it's the freedom of these sort of in the moment feelings that you could, and urges that you could act upon, and all that sort of sovereignty and choice that you have to make and to alter the destiny and direction and narrative. That's really the whole jazz of the game. So some of these questions, I'm just kind of going through them right now. I want to ask them to honor them, but they're hard to answer.
They're hard to answer. Sorry, what I was just going to say, if you don't mind, Tom, I actually want to get in here, and I actually just want to give a shout out to, because we totally forgot to do this,
Yeah,
and this wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for these beautiful, beautiful people that have decided to toss a coin to us Witchers.
These are new patrons,
and
new
these
patrons.
are new patrons who are. These are the people. This is the reason why we're doing this. So a big shout out, top of the list, Mike McFadden. Thank you so much for joining us, my brother, or brother from another mother, or
big
sister
shout
or
out.
father.
That's right. Biggest shout out to Just Scrolls, who I believe we met on Reddit. I think we got a little Reddit thread going on with them.
Oh.
Nice. And hey, look who's over in the corner. They just showed up.
What's that?
It's Scott Lamberton's here.
Scott, come on.
Scotty.
Nice. I didn't know he was
Too
in
hotty.
D&D.
Oh my God! Look at right behind him. Is that Modern X Commando?
Yeah.
Oh,
The Modern
man.
we were answering questions from Modern Commando.
Yeah,
we were
he's
just
using our
talking about
first
you. I'm so
moss.
Crazy
That's right.
motherfucker.
Son of
Love
a...
it.
Wow, and then we got James Riggs. Riggs.
Riggs.
Uh-oh.
What's that?
Uh-oh.
You know who's here?
Who's that?
Oh my God! Please tell me.
It's
not who I think it is.
Bradley Dugan.
Oh, you know what? Next time we should do it like SNL.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's not even do it
Musical
yet.
guest, Mike McFadden.
Save it. We'll do the whole thing.
Just
Save it, I'll save it, yeah, I'll save it.
Scrolls. With
And
special
your
guest.
host, Modern Commando.
All right, we'll do it now.
Yeah.
Bradley Dugan.
Musical guest,
James.
Garbage.
Imagine
Well, thanks,
Dragons.
guys.
Here's your host, Modern X Commando.
Okay. Thanks,
yeah.
guys. It really means a lot to us.
Yeah, seriously. Thanks so much.
Now, Tom, I interrupted you. My apologies.
Yeah, well, we're going back to the whole the main thing that got us talking about, like, oh, do we assume we want to kill Strahd? Well, that's very interesting. So Taylor's got a question here. I'm so excited to see how Vallaki runs for Bourne and Wendell. Yes, I'm curious to see how the players view the politics of the town and how engaged they become with the city's problems. Now, here's the cue. Is killing Strahd the ultimate goal? Or is changing the land within for glimpses of hope more important? Can't wait. Interesting question.
That I can answer.
Okay.
For Boren, he always has said that he fights for justice and truth and righteousness and ridding the land of darkness and evil, whether it be his own land or any land. That's what he stands for. So for him, it's more about the freeing the land and ridding it of evil. But I mean, therein lies the rub. You gotta kill Strahd, don't you? I mean, one would think.
Right. He's the common denominator. How does Wendell feel about all this? What is his main goal? Does it involve the land? Does he want to retire? What's up?
I would think that the way it seems to be going is that Wendell is pretty self-absorbed. He's a very selfish person, probably more so than he even realizes. His whole backstory and life before this was so solemn and self-serving.
Right.
And so now that he's in this predicament, and as he keeps exclaiming to Boren, he just wants to escape. He doesn't like the change. He doesn't like this challenge. He doesn't like the danger. He doesn't like the pain. He's really a weak person, I think, it seems. But this is just so far how the character is coming out. And wherever that goes, I would hope that maybe there's a metamorphosis that happens, but certainly nothing yet has happened.
Right. He's a bit
to challenge him in that way.
He's a bit of a curmudgeon for sure, but he's also in a predicament because in some ways it's good that he's in the land of Barovia because he has issues back in the Shining Plains. but at the same time, he also wants to get back to his life in the Shining Plains, if possible.
Well, and also where he is in Barovia is, he thinks that he's a fugitive back at home, but back home he's a fugitive somewhere, and there's a giant land of Faerun that's relatively safe, even though we know Faerun is home to many dangerous adventures. But Barovia, I think, is so obviously a darker, way more perilous place to be.
Interesting. So, do you think that's what made it how he got to Daggerford? Basically, just kind of on the run or checking out the coast.
Yeah, he's Daggerford's so far away from the Shining Plains. He was just aiming to get somewhere farther away.
Right. The opposite of Cheers. He wanted a place to go where nobody knew his name.
That's exactly right.
That's amazing, Tom.
And Tom,
you're amazing. Yeah, Jay.
That was amazing.
That was amazing, man.
Thanks, guys.
Let's go to another comment.
Yeah,
let's take another call.
Let's take another call. Well, we got Nathan on line 2.
Again?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's carrying this.
Oh yeah.
Let's let Nathan rattle off a few of his favorite questions here. What do we got?
We got to have the ultimate monster on here.
Nathan Dijur, monster number 1. Anyone want to take Nathan's place? Anyone want to challenge Nathan?
That's the challenge. I don't think they could do it.
We love you,
though.
Nathan.
I feel like Nathan's got this. Okay, well, here we go. Question for DM Tom. What made you decide to change the design of the Death House? Also, what would have happened if Wendell and Boren tried to save the baby?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a great question.
Okay.
There's two questions in there.
Oh, I got 2 cues for one. Well, the Death House, actually, for anyone who's maybe on the fence of running Curse of Strahd, or maybe just wants to introduce it to their table as a little taste, the Death House is a well-known one-shot. Now, were I to run it actually my buddy Dave Power ran it. Shout out, Dave. And it was a great time. If I were to run the Death House as a one-shot, I would have kept the extra floor, and I believe there's some sort of labyrinth in the basement. I would have kept all that, but it was already a 2-parter, and you will find that sometimes I make choices where, it's a very malleable book and land. It's a sandbox. And sometimes I just trim the fat a little bit. So that was just my decision. And everybody, all the DMs out there, I recommend you do the same thing. Make your decision. Whatever you're passionate about, do that. Because your passion will shine through.
As I DM'd after, all my guys went up to every floor, and they went down, and they went through the maze they actually returned the bones of Rose and Thorn, a other piece of the story that we never even touched upon.
Oh, shit. So they did it, eh? They did the full Death House.
They did it of their own accord.
Sounds like a German nightclub.
I allowed them to, the Death House.
Death House, yeah.
Yeah, welcome.
So if you have any German friends out there,
go to
the Death House.
Yeah, it's
I gotta
owned by
say,
Mr. Durst.
It's like it actually pains me to think of some DMs out there that are so true and faithful to the script, to the detriment of the table's fun and flow. Mm-hmm. Like what you did, Tom, was just read the room, and what we have what I'm excited about what we do, because we try to look at other actual plays for inspiration, but honestly, there is something that we do that's a little different, and it's a bit of a hybrid, I would say, where we try to make it flow and feel a little more like episodic, like a TV or movie sort of feeling. Obviously, our sessions are a little longer than our edited down versions, but even then, for the most part, you're just there is a sense of on a session, there's a sense of a beginning, a middle, and then some closure that we want to feel if you're watching a long movie. And I know that some other tables will play, Dungeons and Dragons we'll start, we'll see how far we get. We're going to play it by the book. We're going to play by the rules, and then done. And that's fine. But the malleability of this game and fitting it to your style, I like the way we found our flow here. The way it feels a little more cinematic.
Exactly.
Feels like there's a little bit of up and then down, some closure, and we can just kind of wrap things up now. We don't need to stick around too much.
Yeah, we usually get the timing pretty good, and there's a good consensus on places to end. But certainly for prepping for each session, I do think of each one as an episode. So whether we adhere to the episode or not, I always have that kind of compartmentalized. Like, okay, at least I can see a beginning, middle, and end with this chunk. But
Well, there you go.
Whatever happens in Barovia stays in Barovia, you know?
There you go.
There was a second part of that question, which was, what would have happened if we had saved the baby?
If you tried to save the baby, well, that's just it. You would have tried, and damn. I guess you would.
You mean there isn't any scenario in which the baby survives and grows up to be a normal baby?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Boren, you could have raised it as one of your 15 other children.
I mean, I guess so. I mean,
totally
knowing
clear
the
on the
story
number.
behind the baby too, I mean, I guess there's a possible way to save the baby. It would be very long and involved.
You know,
So wait.
if you guys wanted to do it, and you guys,
we could have saved the baby, and then we would have had a baby the way I had BB,
Pretty much, we had a BB baby.
you would have had to,
and then
train
had
would the
a
baby
would have been a demon baby.
gone off in the mist too? Woo, goo, goo, gaga, sound of
just crawled
Strahd toy.
And just toddle into
guys
the
you
could
mist.
see it go into the mist.
Yeah, you guys
Cool.
could have
Disappear.
put it in the cart or whatever. It would have been great.
That would have been a dark
Maybe Irina would
turn.
have taken a liking to the baby. Who knows?
Yeah.
Baby
Yeah.
and BB. Okay. Let's just say you saved the baby. Very good. You named the dog. Why don't you guys name the baby right now?
No, well, I mean, this is like
We'll name it after Boren's mother.
Oh.
Luciana.
Okay, all right.
That's beautiful.
It's very. He even said almost a little bit Spanish or something like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a dwarf from the south.
Very nice. A spicy, beautiful baby name. Okay, well, how about this? Here we go, Jay. You're getting challenged, I would say. It's not even a question. I think it's a straight challenge from
Yo, bring it the
everyday
fuck on.
cartographer. Is it just me, or does Wendell sound like Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption?
Is that a challenge? Come on, guys. Come on,
It's like a
listeners.
challenge.
I want a challenge here.
Are you
Give me a
going
hard
to?
give me a hard
I guess he's
question
challenging
to
you
answer.
to answer that. I don't know.
The answer is, oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, here's the thing. I actually in another game. Another game that we played with our friend Nick. I actually did model my PC after Johnny Lawrence of Karate Kid,
Right.
and of Cobra Kai. Like him growing up and him sort of just being like a real sort of dumbass, but also a guy. He has a heart of gold, but he doesn't even know it because he's a little bit slow. He's been kicked around too much, and he was bullied, and he was a bully. And I called him Donnie Lawrence, and I just straight up started him from that character, and then turned him into his own thing. This Wendell, I swear, was first just born off of looking at this mini that I painted, and I looked at him, and I loved this mini so much. It was just sort of curmudgeon-y, sort of farmer guy with an axe, and the mini turned out really well. If you join our Patreon, you could see a special little video of me talking about it and indulging myself.
Oh, that's right. That's a great video.
But it was just also when you come up with a character, you think about a voice. You know, what's a voice that I can sustain and feel fun in? Like, what's something I can kind of get lost in? And I realized that just doing like an old voice like this, it was just it actually started a little lower. It's like, oh yeah, maybe it'll be somewhere here, and then Sarah just got a little lazier and just went here. It was just a lot easier to just kind of keep this up.
Right.
And
It was almost lower in the first step.
yeah, the first step sounds, it's almost like the way Homer Simpson sounds different in the first step.
Yeah, I remember
But
that.
I kind of
the
like
first
that
year.
too because
Hello,
Hey, boy.
boy.
Well, I might have to ask my wife first.
Oh, Marge.
Marge. But I realize it sounds just like Arthur, of course.
You know, I mean, you get that a lot. I think because I've played Red Dead, there's such a distinction between Arthur.
I don't even care. I say great, even if it sounds
No,
exactly
you know what?
like
I
it.
care. I care, Jay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can care.
I care so much. I'm going to challenge whoever challenged you. I'm going to challenge him to sound like Arthur Morgan.
Hey, you did sort of the same thing with Boren. Like you
I did the
sort of
exact
did a
same
little bit of a Gimli start. Like it's going to be kind of like Gimli, but
Yeah.
it's not as if you were thinking about like, oh, what would Gimli say here? Like you ended up.
not at all.
Boren is
You rewrote
Boren.
Dwarven culture 10 times over. I don't
God.
think Gimli even knows that much about Dwarven culture.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Yeah, that was it.
Speaking of Dwarven culture, here's a little cue for you. How many kids does Bourne actually have? And what was your reason for leaving Bright Axe Hall? And, ba-bam, gotta love this.
What's
This is
that?
from ND. And what life would Warren, what life would Warren want to retire into?
What life?
I guess, say he were to make it outside of Barovia, or if that's even a thing, what does he have to look forward to? I guess you touch upon it. You know, you miss your wife.
Okay. Well,
But,
Bourne has
how many kids? Bright Axe
Bourne
Hall.
has, I believe he has 9 children with 17 on the way. I think. It
Wait a sec. How many wives does he have? 17 on the way?
He's got one wife.
How does she?
This
So wait, this
is
is
this a
more
dwarf?
dwarven culture here. How many?
This is a
Children
long
can a
thing.
dwarven
They plan.
lady
There's a
carry?
lot of planning. There's a calendar. Their calendars. They have 42 days in a month in
Okay.
Dwarven culture.
Yeah. Do the kids come out at once, or
No, the kids, they only gestate for about 4 or 5 months because they're shorter, they're stouter,
right?
you know what I
Less
mean?
time to cook it.
That's right. So they come out hard.
Wow. So
And
he's-
so what was the second one? How many kids?
yeah,
what did-
basically,
what
what was the
brought
reason?
him?
That's a good point. Well, why did you leave Bright Axe Hall, especially with
Oh.
17 children on the way? It's almost like a derelict kind of.
Well, I mean,
Deadbeat
but he
move.
also lives in a big Dwarven clan, so there's a lot of people. Well, he was out. I mean, he was
Takes
out
a tribe.
doing military work. He was out with his other dwarves of Bright Axe Hall, down around the Sword Coast area, because where he's from is in the mountains, quite north. And that was actually mountains. There's a history to those mountains too that I made sure to research. That those mountains were taken over by a blue dragon, a few blue dragons, I believe, that
Damn.
they chased out the dwarves in those mountains. But it was Boren's great grand dwarf that fought one of these dragons, and the king of Bright Axe Hall sits on a throne made of the skull of that blue dragon that took over the mines. How they won it back. So he has a long lineage into these dwarves who were very foundational in the northern part of Faerun.
Oh, I could picture it like this blue dragon swooping in to put out these forges with its like watery breath and.
That's right. And all these dwarves going, we have to get back the mines. And they call it a mine. A mine. A mine. So Boren was out just doing military diplomatic work. He
Nice.
goes to see the different troops that are platooned in different stations and areas, and he found himself in Daggerford. He'd been there before. He travels south quite a bit.
Man, I would love to see.
Oh yeah, you knew the bartender.
You knew Elliot.
I want to see it like
Elliot.
just
That's
a,
right, Elliot.
a like a side project, a side podcast of Boren prequel that's just going around doing good things and good deeds, and there's no
Yeah.
conflict. And
Dude.
it's just Boren going around to,
You know
to
what that'd
different
be?
places in Faerun.
Yeah, it's like the HBO Max series. If Dwarven Moss is the HBO of D&D, then the Boren and Wendell sort of sideshow. It's like the Better Call Saul of Breaking Bad.
It would work
you
as
know
a
what I mean?
sitcom
Yeah.
too, though.
Although-
Everybody loves Boren.
I'm telling you right now, Better Call Saul is rivaling Breaking Bad. I'm watching the final season right now.
Oh.
It is fucking
You know what?
awesome.
You're gonna hate me. I haven't seen either.
Any of it. Yeah, I know. There are a few people that have denied themselves the pleasure.
Yeah, that's a good way
Guilty.
of putting it.
Yeah. Well, it's waiting for you whenever you're ready.
Fair enough. And now the last part of that question was, what would Boren do? Well, I mean, Boren is not going to retire. He's a military man. He's going to spend the rest of his life aiding the military when he can, and living with his family, and helping his children grow, and getting an education. And
Right. I feel like Bourne will just work to his bones. Like he'll have a big gray beard.
Yeah.
And he'll still be swinging that axe, like chopping 3 trees down at once, and splitting wood, and hanging out with the grandkids, the grandkids.
Exactly.
I have a couple of things to shout out here.
Cool. Okay.
I just want to read off a few people. Asylum X Productions said, "Been looking forward to this. Thanks, Asylum."
Thanks, buddy.
Ben Harder says, in quotes, "Okay, who'd you sell them to?" End quote. "The delivery really got me there. Ha ha." Yes, that was
What was
a
that
funny
for?
moment. It was when we were hounding the gravedigger for where who stole the bones, and then
Right.
he finally
Oh, yeah.
admitted to it and said, like, "Oh well, I sold them." And then we're just like, well, "All right, we'll just sell it to classic RPG." We know that we're getting lost in a goose chase now.
I love it.
Mosif the Brosif says, "Getting lost in the sauce? Nah, fam. I'm getting lost in the moss." Us too, Mosif. Us too.
Us too, baby.
Scott Lamberton says, "Been really looking forward to this."
Yeah, Scott.
Me too, pal. Thanks.
Mean Face
He's a
Johnny
patron.
says, "The inner conflict when you go from making a grown man piss his pants to being mocked by a child."
I enjoyed that scene.
What's being mocked by a child? Is that referring to Wendell mocking? Or
Was there a child that mocked us?
Well,
Was there a mocking? Did a child make
The-
a mockery?
So you made
The mocking I
Spielberg,
remember is,
pissed his pants.
Yeah.
I remember the mocking in the stocks.
The mocking and the stock mocks were pretty funny.
The stock
Mocks were
It was
pretty good,
definitely
yeah.
degrading and humiliating.
Yeah.
That was very good.
I one of our favorites. Remember when Boren, that we stepped aside from Eugenie and the guy who I made piss his pants, and
Soldar.
and Zoldar, and Boren says something like, "Oh, I've got an idea, Wendell," and Wendell goes, "Yeah, you thinking about killing these guys?" And then Boren does that thing where he's like, "No, I'm not thinking about killing them. It's always going to killing with you. You seem like you've killed like hundreds of people the way you talk."
Well, I maybe killed a couple foxes, and sure, I killed a few vermin.
Vermin.
It was just great because at that point it was like, oh man, this guy always with the come on, what?
I know.
Has that really gotten us this far so far?
It's always fun, like when Boren lets it loose a little bit. When Boren is just like, because he's got such a code of ethics that he follows, and
Right.
he can't break it.
When he breaks the
and we
code.
can't be too silly with it, or else like you lose the grounded nature. But that's why it gets so rewarding when you hear Boren just go like, "Oh, it's fucking gross," or something that
One of
just
my favorite
lets the
Boren
lips
quotes
fly.
Is when he's in the bone grinder and he's shimmying up the rope, and Wendell goes, "Barn, we're gonna snap at your butt," or something like that, and Boren goes, "Oh, fuck him! Excuse my language, children.
Fuck him.
Fuck him! Excuse my language, children." I love that. I think it's Vallaki. The fun thing about that city is that it plays such a, it is such a dividing, fun point in the story. That
Yeah, it's been
when you,
so fun
when
to
you
not
make
have
it there, it's
battles,
it's
in a
such
way.
a big, huge, climb. And when you're there, it was great too. Because I got to say, as a player, I was not expecting it to be like that. So I think the fun thing was playing Boren, going, "Oh my word, this is great!" Like he's just, "Oh, I love it here, yeah."
I feel like there's a good chance a lot of people make it to Vallaki just because of the geography in the campaign, but it's quite possible you don't, depending on.
It's fun too,
Which
right
way,
in the
what
it's kind
everyone's
of right
feeling.
in the middle of the map too. Kind of all roads lead to Vallaki.
All roads lead to
weird way.
Vallaki.
Ooh.
And I like that when we're walking along the main road, you say, and this is actually, this Falich Road that runs right through here.
Right. Yeah.
Little
Old
tiny
Falich
details like that, especially when delivered in that sort of like calm DM voice. Oh yeah, Tom, I wanted to tell you again. There sometimes when you're DMing and you're in that sort of like really sort of like soft and measured tone that you get into, you sound like Sam Harris. You sound like that sort of like book on tape, like really easy on the ears voice.
Yeah, Tom, you got a great DM voice.
Thank you. You mentioned that before, and I was
have.
wondering. And
Yeah.
I listened to more Sam Harris, and I was like, well, I guess it's a little bit there. It's got a little bit of ASMR and kind of draws you in. And,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let everybody on our comment section debate the actual like what Sam Harris says, and you guys can just use our D&D podcast as a whole battlegrounds for battles of free speech and all that sort of
we're talking
topical
Ben Shapiro
political
next
stuff.
next-
But the
next week.
sound of his voice just alone is not up for debate. I don't think. I think there's something very calming about it.
Sam Harris seems quite grounded. I enjoy his perspective.
Have you guys heard his new
It's just a
episode where he
perspective.
talks about Barovia and Strahd?
Yes. Didn't he write
He's
a book
like-
on that?
From the basements of the Death House to the very tips of Castle Ravenloft. I want to go deeper into what people know and what they don't know about Count Strahd von
So
Zarovich.
Strahd has brought these strangers here that he doesn't know, and you have to ask yourself, why would he do something so asinine and so audacious?
It's a landscape these people don't know. It's a tone in a world that is unfamiliar.
Yet something about it draws them to it. Is it something on the inside? Or is it something on their outside? Did they bring it with
It's-
them? Or was it given to them?
Hey, Sam, hit this.
Tonight on Dwarven Moss.
Featuring
Sam
Sam,
Harris
Harris
guest.
gets fucking high.
Okay, guys, this is a lot of what you call Dwarven Moss. I'm not sure if I can handle anymore and still keep my head above water in the land of Barovia.
Tonight on Dwarven Moss. A 1-hour sit-down with Count Strahd von Zarovich. We find out what makes him tick. Why does he do what he does? And is he truly the one and only Lord of Barovia?
People are booing him like Jerry Springer when he marches out and he starts taunting them. Hey, come on. Yeah, bring it. Yeah, boo,
Ladies and
boo,
gentlemen,
Yeah, I like it.
I love it.
Strahd!
The one-on-one with Strahd. He gets like a 2020 special with Barbara
Yeah.
Walters.
Tonight we
And he
sit
cries.
down with the most infamous person in Barovia.
It's almost that time, guys.
I was just going to say, I think it's that time.
Just like when our episodes end naturally. We're
I
feeling
like
that
it.
time starting to...
It sort of starts
Close
to creep
in.
in that song, that Dwarven
mossy
Moss,
song.
that talking moss song.
That talking mossy song.
mossing song.
Moss, moss, moss.
Moss, moss, moss.
That talking moss.
The talking moss.
The talking moss.
Motherfucking talking moss.
Oh, yeah.